Hi everyone, it's Janaea, and today I wanted to do a tutorial for an easy junk journal for beginners, and I was prompted to give my Crafty hacks by Elisha from Elisha's Crafty Hop Plop, and I thought about it and I thought this would be a useful hack for a lot of people who have been intimidated by making junk journals. I just found this is a really easy way to make one. The template is there for you. You can decorate it however you want this way, but it's just an easy way to go about making one. So what you'll need is a PVA glue. Sea Lemon does tutorials on bookbinding, and she uses this pH neutral PVA glue. It's one of her preferred glues. And I highly recommend, if you're interested in bookbinding, that you go check out her YouTube channel. She has a lot of helpful tutorials and helpful tips. But if you don't have this, I recommend using fabric tack. That's what I have used most often. I haven't even opened this one yet. I just got this since I've been making more books. But the top, it doesn't have a top, so I have to figure out before I open it how I can close it so it doesn't dry out. But if you don't have Fabri-Tac, you can also just use tacky glue. This is a PVA glue, but I don't think it works quite as well as Fabri-Tac. The reason you need a PVA glue is because you are going to be opening and closing the book, and it needs to be a glue that allows for flexibility. And that's why this Fabri-Tac is ideal, because it is a flexible drying glue. And also acid-free, which is important. The reason this one's a little better, it's the pH neutral, which means it's archival, and that is just best for bookmaking. And so the first step is any old book. Sorry, my dog, I need to let her in. Any old book that you are not opposed to tearing apart. So I inherited a lot of books that are not in the greatest condition from my grandma. And I already took the pages out of this one, so that's why I have two books here. I wanted to show you how to remove the pages. And what you'll need is an X-Acto knife. You're going to need your book, a ruler, some scissors, a pen or pencil, an awl, some Tyvek, some 65-pound cardstock, and then your pages. And the nice thing about the pages is they don't all have to be the same size. They don't have to be the same type of paper. That's the most fun thing about making junk journals, is they're all so unique. They all use different materials, different pages, different fabrics. But I just went with some papers I had left over because I wanted to make this video for Elisha. It's been a while and I just kind of haven't had time until now. So the first thing that you will want to do, actually before you take the pages out, is you want to go ahead and measure the height of your book, which this one I already measured. It's 7.5. And then you want to measure the spine. I'm sorry, my dogs are playing with each other in the background. And the spine is 1 inch on this one. So then you will want to cut a template, and the template will be that 1 inch by 7.5 inches. And for your pages, you want to go ahead and measure the pages in the book, and then you'll cut down your pages to be the same height, but then you want to do 2 times the width so that you can fold them in half to add your signatures. So for the template, you will first fold this piece of, well, actually, I thought for beginners it would be easier to start with a lower amount of signatures per journal, and also to just make the measurements easier. So what I'm planning to do for this one is to do just a 1/4 inch signatures. So make a line at a 1/4 inch on each side. So you have your 1/4 inch lines. And then what you'll want to do is line your ruler up to make one line all the way across. And these will be lines for your 3 signatures. And the last one here. And so now you have the lines. So that's 3 lines for our 3 signatures. And then the next step is you want to fold that cardstock in half. And then what you'll do is open it up, fold it in half to the middle on the top, and fold it in half to the middle on the bottom. And then what you'll do is, this is not the best ruler, it's kind of hard to work with, but it is the only one I have. So what you'll do is you'll draw a line at those creases just so that you can clearly see the line. It's kind of hard if you don't actually draw the line there. And there's that. And then you will see where the line across meets the line going up and down. And that's when you're going to use your awl, and you are going to poke holes at all of those intersections there. So be careful of your fingers because it is sharp at the end. So, and I kind of messed up there. Okay. And now you have your template there. And when I make a junk journal, I like to say there's a lot of Bob Ross moments because there are a lot of happy little accidents. They might not seem so happy along the way, but everything ends up all right and everything turns out all right. There's always a way to fix something that you think has gone wrong. So we have our template done. In the Tyvek, you want to cut down so that it is long enough to cover the spine and also reach the front and back cover, so that this is, you can't tear this. So that's why I reinforce my spines with this, because once this is down, your spine is connected very well to the front and back covers so that the spine itself won't tear. So before we move on to that, I will show you how I remove the pages. And this is why I like using old books, and I say it's easy for beginners. You don't have to worry about the spacing between the spine and the covers, and you don't have to worry about having chipboard on hand or anything. And the other thing is you don't even have to decorate the front cover if you like it. Like for this one, I think I would just leave it because that's a really pretty image. But it's your choice. So this one, I'm actually saving this page because I wonder if that is my great-grandma's handwriting. But then what you would do here is you cut out the page, and your page might be not falling apart this bad, but it is okay. I'll show you the back isn't as bad. So there is that there. And what you do is you just be careful, and obviously it's a very sharp tool. and you just cut, being careful to not cut the spine. You just cut along the line there, along that crease. So then when you do that, none of these are connected to the spine. So it just comes out. It's 2 easy cuts, and you have the base for your junk journal already. So I will put this one aside. And here is this. And another thing I want to note is when I first started making junk journals, I did not realize how brittle old paper becomes. I mean, I guess it should be common knowledge, but I just wasn't thinking. So if you do, I mean, I love the way the old paper ages and looks, but if you do want to incorporate it into your book, I recommend either doing some collages with it, or possibly attaching the 2 pieces with washi tape. But just keep in mind also, I would highly recommend not stitching on this, because if you stitch on it, it is going to just make it that much more brittle, and it will most likely crumble and fall apart where you're stitched. So I would just keep in mind that if you use this paper will be brittle. So just kind of make it a page that you're aware of that for. So then I just save these for later. And I have my book here. I have my Tyvek that I have cut out. And what I want to do for my first step, and I mean, you could probably do everything in a different order than I do, but this is kind of what works for me. So it will fit, it will go onto the front and back covers. And what I want to do is take my PVA glue and you do want to make sure you get close to the edges. If there's some overspill, I mean, that's fine. Fabric tack does clean up fairly well. On some materials, it can tend to leave some staining, I've found, but typically it just kind of rubs off if you get to it at the right time. And if you used fabric tack, you know what I'm talking about, most likely, hopefully. So then, if you have a bone folder, I would probably use a bone folder. I did not think to bring one up here, but that's fine. Just make sure you're really getting those edges down, and I will be putting fabric, sorry, my dog again. I will be putting fabric around this, so that will be another layer that will help to just hold everything in place here. And this book was in pretty rough condition. All right, so there's that. And now our spine is way more sturdy. If you do want a thicker, heavier duty spine like the front and back cover are, you can go ahead and add some chipboard or 110-pound cardstock. In the past, when I've made books, junk journals using old books, I have used 110-pound cardstock, and I just make it the exact size of the spine, so the same size as the template. And I just add that, I glue it down to the spine before I glue down the Tyvek. So then I would recommend, well, let's just borrow the paper clips from my pages for now. So I would, it's just easier when you can use paper clips, you can use whatever you want. Probably something sturdier like a bulldog clip or like a binder clip would be better, just to hold that in place so that you can get your holes in your spine better. So then you just use your template, makes it super easy, and you just want to go ahead and poke the holes. And yeah, I really should have brought some binder clips. This is not working out the greatest, but let's see where I ended up poking my hole. Yeah, definitely use binder clips for that. The paper clips don't work very well for that. But then you'll see we have our holes made there. It's easy, and all you need is a pokey tool. That's what's nice about this too, is when I first started making books, I didn't have all of the fancy tools. Like, I actually had to go buy an awl to even be able to do this because I didn't have a pokey tool of any kind. But the good thing is, awls are fairly inexpensive, and they come in handy for many more things just besides just bookmaking. So then we have our pages. You can arrange them however you would like. Just put a clip on one side on the top and one side on the bottom. I found that holds best. And paper clips for this are typically fine. I have used binder clips though. It's a little sturdier when you do it that way. And then you take that template that we just poked our holes into our book from, and what you want to do is fold it in half. I don't know. When I was in school, we called this hot dog way. Just vertically fold it in half, I guess. I guess that's the adult term, right? Okay, so fold that in half, and you will just want to line that up. And our actual pages are going to be a hair shorter than the book, because I did use the book pages themselves to measure my pages. And then you just put the crease with that, and you can also clip the crease down. Not crease, I'm sorry. You can clip the template down so that that doesn't move on you. But I don't know, I just fold mine. So we do that. Sorry, can't see this one. There we go. And now we have our 3 holes so that we can begin to sew in our signature. And for this video, I'm just going to show you how I go about sewing in one. But first, we need to add our fabric. So, this is the fabric I have. I don't know if it matches the greatest, but I am going to, just glue part down, start on the inside here, and I'm gonna go down because I'm gonna leave a little bit of fabric hanging off the bottom. I like the way that looks. I've done hanging from the top and the bottom. I like the way the bottom looks, so what I would do is just put some glue on there, and it is going to come through the fabric. Just be aware that this is a messy job. So just make sure that you, again, well, I found that a bone folder is kind of hard to do this with, but that might just be me. But, and the glue will come up, but you can just rub that right away. And make sure you get the sides, because I do like that this holds down that Tyvek just that much more, so that my spine is for sure secure in there. And then what you want to do is go to the other side, and we are going to put glue along the spine. I don't want to glue the edges of the fabric because I might want to decorate this cover. I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to leave it so that I can sneak something underneath the fabric if I choose to. So the other nice thing about fabric tack is it is very fast drying. So when you're working on something like this, I mean, you have a little time to put your fabric down, but then it dries quickly. So when you need to poke holes again, you can go ahead and do that. And you can just wait to use your template and poke the holes in the spine until the fabric's on. I just find it's easier to see where exactly where the spine should be when you have the natural spine showing. So, and when this dries, you shouldn't see all those lines through the fabric. This is a vintage pillowcase, so the fabric itself is super thin as well though. And then what you do is you add glue to the inside, and you want to glue over that little chunk of fabric. So I kind of used a lot, but you do want to make sure that you get enough glue on there that everything is adhered well. And I actually got to record today while my son is napping, which is, I feel like on the days I plan to record, he usually ends up just not napping. But today he's napping, so it's good. There is that. And again, like, you're gonna have glue all over your hands, so be prepared to be messy. And what I do is, I like the look of the frayed edge. I mean, you could use pinking shears if you don't like that, but what I do is then I leave teeny tiny amount at the bottom, like super small amount. You cut just a slit and then tear, and that's how you get that frayed, really I don't know why I think it looks vintage, but that's just kind of what I associate with the frayed look, I guess. But, and you can cut some of the crazy renegade strands there. And there is our fabric cover. And it just makes the spine look really cute. I do like that little bit of frayed fabric on the bottom. And here's that. And now typically you might be able to see through your fabric. I can see the holes through my fabric, but don't worry if you can't see the holes. I think it's still nice to have them pre-done. You can just realign your template up and go through those. But I used a fabric that I can see through, and there is that. So I'm just re-poking the holes. Now these ones are harder to see because I have more layers. Let's see here. Sorry, bear with me. This so oops. Just kind of had to reline that up. And, you know, junk journals are made in a way where they're not perfect. Do not fret. They're not supposed to be perfect. They're supposed to look handmade. I know it's hard to, like, let go of that perfectionism, but... and then what you'll need is a cotton thread. A waxed cotton thread. And I have the We Are Memory Keepers bookbinding kit. To be honest with you, I do not like this thread it comes with. And I don't like the needles either. They're not very strong. This one already broke, but I like squeezed it with the pliers and now it kind of works again. But I do like the bookbinding tool itself, so still a win. But what you'll want to do is take your thread, and what you do is you measure by going the length of it 1, 2, 3 times, and then I add a little extra just because I would rather have a little extra hanging from the bottom. Some people like to put charms on the strings that hang from the bottom, so I always leave that in my journals, just so if someone wants that. Sometimes I add the dangles, but typically I just leave the strings for if the person receiving it wants to add some beads. And again, I am not a fan of this thread, and this needle is technically broken. I usually just use a regular long needle, but I actually forgot my other thread downstairs. I wasn't thinking about this part. So, sewing in the signatures seems intimidating, but I promise you it's easy, and once you do it, once you make one book, like, you got it. It's super easy. So what you do is you put your needle that is threaded. You don't leave a whole lot on the edge there, but you just put that through the middle, and you want to leave some excess hanging down like that. So you put that through the middle of your pages. And then what you do is you start with the last signature. So that is the dot the furthest to your right hand side. And you want to start with the middle dot. So you will put your needle through that, pull the thread through the middle dot, and it is easiest to just not do a button spine or a sequin spine, which typically is what I do. But if you do add buttons or sequins, you would just add them now. And then what you do is you put your needle through that bottom, now it's on your left side looking at it this way, bottom leftmost hole there. Just the one that matches up with the one you just put your needle through. But on the bottom, okay. So put it through the bottom, and then you want to put that through the bottom hole in your papers, and you will see the needle. And again, be careful, your needle is going to be pointy, even if it's not super pointy, it still can poke you. And then you take this thread and you go all the way up to the top, put your needle through, and then you are going to take that needle and put it through your top hole. Your next step will, and don't worry that it's loose right now, we will tighten it later. It's easier to work with it when it's not tight when you're trying to get the needle in and out of holes. And the last thing you will do is you want to put it back through that middle hole. And you don't want to cross the threads. It happens sometimes, and it's typically fine if you're using a heavy duty enough thread, but it weakens the thread and it can tear when you go to tie it off because you want those signatures taut to the spine. So you don't want to cross the thread, like don't just stick the needle in. How I do it to make sure I don't cross threads is I kind of pull on that from the inside so that the thread is down, and then I try to go up with my needle so that I'm not crossing into that thread. Okay, and then I do the same thing. I'm just careful about where the thread is when I go in through my pages. And you go through that middle and take your needle out, and then you'll just want to pull tightly. So pull on both strings. Don't pull like outward like that, with the strings tearing into the paper. Do it on the sides so that the strings are naturally going if you do it, but I like to pull up and then make sure that everything is tight before you tie it off. So I just really pull at that. So my pages are nicely against that spine. That means I am ready to tie this off. And what I do when I tie it is, when you do a normal knot, you go once, I go twice. So 1, 2, tie. And then I do that same knot again. You guys, I don't know knot names, I'm sorry, but there is that. And excuse all the glue on my fingers. That is what happens when you do the fabric spine. Or at least, I don't know, maybe I'm just messy. But you can take your paper clips off now. And like I said, I do like to leave some string on the bottom. You can add beads, that's kind of cute. Whatever you want. But then there's your first signature. And it looks like that. And the spine is nice there. And everything's in there super well. So that is my long-winded craft hack. And then you just do the exact same thing for the other spines. Just my biggest advice to you is on your first one, take your time. And like I said, even I, who have made multiple junk journals, every time I make one, I have what I like to call Bob Ross moments. I have happy little accidents, but some of those accidents that happen actually end up being my favorite thing about the journal, because you find ways to make it work and work with it. And it ends up being something like beautifully unique. So keep at it. And these books are just, if you have a book you don't mind tearing apart, it doesn't have to be an old book. It could be a new book like you just got and you don't like. That's a hardcover. And just give it a try. This has everything ready to go for you. And if you have any questions, please leave them down below. I'll probably just finish this one up and kind of see what it ends up looking like. It's not one I had planned out. I just wanted to show you guys my craft hack. If you have any questions, leave them below and I would be happy to answer them. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. And one more thing I wanted to point out, I know Elisha has this tool, and I absolutely love this tool for journal making. However, I wanted to show a way where everyone could make a journal easily using just a pokey tool. Not everyone has this tool, but if you have this, I highly recommend utilizing it, especially if you have a 1-inch spine. These are a 1/4 inch apart. So it's perfect for 3 signatures on a 1-inch spine. You can just put your template in there and everything's lined up. You just have to do the math with which dot you want your 3 holes at. So say you want it at, say you want it at 3, 5, 7, say you want it at every 7. So then you just poke 1, 2, 3, and you do that every 7. So then from that first dot, you count down 7 more. And then from that dot, 7 more. And you can just do it 3 across, and it's super easy. And then when you do your pages, all you do is you unscrew this, and you fold your pages in half, and you just line them up to the top. And then because you used this for the spine, you just count the same hole number down, and you do the same spacing, and everything will line up perfect. I absolutely love this tool for that. I think it makes it so much easier. It is far easier to poke the holes. If you would like to see me show you how to use this, I definitely could make a tutorial. It's just the measurements are going to be different than doing it this way, because I was folding the papers in half. This would be a situation where you find the middle point and then you go from there, type of thing. So thank you for watching, and Like I said, any questions, put them down below. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you're all staying safe and well. And have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.